Before we begin our story, I want you to take a long, slow breath in. And as you exhale, allow the day to fall away. Feel the quiet settle around you like a warm woolen blanket pulled up to your chin. The world outside can wait. Tonight is only for dreaming. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Let your jaw unclench. Notice the quiet rhythm of your breath, in and out, like the rise and fall of a gentle hill in the distance. Now, imagine the soft rustle of grass beneath you, the sound of sheep bells in the valley far below, the wind, just a whisper, carrying the scent of wild thyme and cool stone. You're on a high green moor, far from noise, far from worry, and in that stillness, our story begins. Our story tonight begins on a moor where the stars feel close enough to touch. A long time ago, in the 13th century, in a quiet region of what is now northern Spain. He was not famous, not a nobleman or a knight or a scholar, but he had eyes that always turned upward. And in his hands, he carried the skies, lived alone in a round stone hut with a sod roof tucked into the slope of the moor. His sheep grazed nearby, their bleats like lullabies that rolled across the hills. At night, he would light a fire in his hearth, small and glowing like a single ember of the sun. Painted the stars, not with ink, not with words, but with plant dyes, ground roots and petals, wild berries crushed into color, river stones turned to dust, each one carefully mixed and brushed onto stretched sheepskin scrolls. His neighbors thought it was a strange pastime, but in medieval Europe there were whispers that shepherds alone, so often, under the sky sometimes saw things others could not. Tonight paints again. The fire crackles gently beside him, a soft orange glow warming the rough stone walls. Above him, through the open circle of his chimney, the night sky is clear and endless. He dips a delicate brush made of squirrel hair into a tiny dish of violet dye, crushed elderberries. He lifts it, slow and steady, and touches it to the parchment. A dot, another dot, like the tail of a comet. The fire pops. A tiny spark leaps, then fades. Hums as he works. A melody as old as the hills. Not a song, really. Just a pattern his grandmother once used to lull lambs to sleep. As he hums, his hands move with practiced grace. His scroll shows not just stars but time. He maps the slow drifting of the constellations, how Orion leans further back each season, how the Pleiades rise earlier each year. You see, in the Middle Ages, before telescopes, before compasses were common, some shepherds became amateur astronomers, not from books, but from watching the sky night after night, year after year, until it was part of their soul. And for it was. The wind shifts gently outside his hut. It carries the smell of heather and the song of crickets. In the distance, a night bird calls. Low, soft, like a lullaby for the earth itself. Smiles. He takes a small bundle of dried rosemary and lavender and tosses it into the fire. The smoke curls upward, clean and comforting. A scent his mother used to fill their home with long before she passed. That memory softens him. He paints slower now, each star carefully placed, each constellation gently coaxed onto the page. To him, painting is not just for beauty. It is a kind of keeping. He believes that when a star is painted well, it remembers being seen. The candle flickers beside him. A beeswax candle, hand-rolled, scented faintly with time. Its golden light glows against the stone. Outside, the sheep shift in their sleep. Wool hooves quietly, tapping against earth, wraps a shawl over his shoulders, and steps out into the night. The wind greets him like an old friend. Above, the stars are endless, and smiles. He doesn't just paint the sky, he listens to it. He believes the stars whisper, not with words, but with patterns, movements, colors, temperatures. He watches them as a sailor, with curiosity and with awe. As you drift with him now, imagine that sky above you, ink black, silver pinned, alive with breathless stillness. You don't need to know their names, only that they're there, watching, waiting, shining, just for you. And now, as returns to his seat and dips his brush once more, feel yourself sink a little deeper into stillness, into warmth, into the quiet. There is no rush here, no noise, no burden, only stars and the slow, sacred rhythm of the night. The quiet shepherd has returned from his moment beneath the stars. His cheeks are cool from the night wind. His fingers stained faintly with dye, violet, indigo. A kiss of burnt umber. Inside his stone hut, the fire glows low now, crackling gently like a sleepy whisper. It casts long shadows against the curved stone wall, one of them shaped like a brush, one like a star. He settles back onto the woven mat by the hearth, wrapped now in a wool cloak, threaded with pale silver that glimmers in the firelight. This cloak once belonged to his grandfather, who also herded sheep here, on this same high moor. It smells faintly of lanolin, of sun-dried grass, and of memory. Tonight's painting is nearly finished. It is not a map of the sky as it is, but of the sky as it once was. A memory likes to preserve the sky from certain nights. The sky above the first lamb he helped deliver. The sky above the night, a storm nearly swept his flock away. The sky above the evening his sister was born, when the moon rose red and round, like a hearth bread. Each sky has its own pattern, its own breath. He believes these skies can be kept, not just in paint, but in feeling, so that someone, someday, can look at the scroll and feel the night exactly as it was. Pauses. He lifts the scroll with both hands, slowly, carefully, holds it toward the firelight. His fingers barely touch the edges. He studies it, not with judgment, but with reverence. 5 soft strokes of silver, 7 indigo dots in the shape of a sleeping stag, a gentle arch of gold, like a wind path across the stars. This one is complete. He places it inside a long wooden box, lined with soft sheep's wool. Inside are dozens of scrolls just like I teach, wrapped in linen, each with a tiny tag of carved cedar wood. Someday, someone will. The fire is low now. The logs settle with a gentle sigh, stirs the embers, then covers them with ash, a trick his mother taught him to keep them warm till morning. The candle burns on. Its light softer now, shorter. He doesn't blow it out. He lets it fade on its own. Instead, he lies back on a mattress of straw, draped with a woolen quilt. And from his pillow, he gazes through the open chimney circle. Tonight, the stars are especially near. They seem to shimmer with quiet laughter, or perhaps a lullaby, too ancient to name. In the 13th century, most people never learned to read the sky, but some knew how to feel it, and there is a medieval belief, rarely spoken aloud, that those who study the stars from the land, not from towers or charts, but with bare hands and open hearts, can sometimes dream of what's to come. Not predictions, not omens, but memories that haven't happened yet. And so, dreams. In his sleep, he walks across the moor barefoot. The grass glows softly beneath his steps, as if painted with moonlight. Above him, the stars rearrange themselves into new constellations, ones he has never seen before. A lantern-shaped nebula, a bridge made of glittering dust, a great horned owl, its wings folded in silence. The wind carries the scent of rosemary, and a sound like chimes made from frost. And a star lowers itself to his palm. It hums quietly, like a cat or a lullaby. He smiles in his sleep. Outside, the night deepens. The sheep are curled in tufts, their breath fogging the cool air. A barn owl glides silently overhead. The wind softens further, as if it, too, is beginning to dream. Inside the hut, all is still. Only warmth and slow breathing and the hush of wool. And in the sky above, the stars keep their gentle watch. And now, as you rest beside in your mind, as you feel the stone hut around you, and the fire glow flickering beneath your eyelids. Let go of your own sky for the night. Let the stars you hold inside begin to quiet. No need to remember, no need to try. You are safe, you are warm. And the story is still unfolding. But the stars have begun to dim, ever so gently. Their silver edges are softer now like candlelight behind silk. They do not vanish. They rest. Inside the stone hut, stirs faintly beneath his quilt, not waking fully, just turning, sighing, and in his dream, the moor continues. He dreams of a sky with no horizon, just velvet black, and shimmering paths of dust. He walks along a thread of stars each, one pulsing with warmth beneath his feet, but like echoes inside a seashell. They hum in the rhythm of wind through grass, of sheep breathing in their sleep. Slowly, he sees his old scrolls floating around him, unfurled, glowing softly. They orbit him like planets, each one a night remembered, each one alive. A compass appears in his hand, made not of metal, but of woven straw and oak. The needle doesn't point north, it points inward, to memory. He follows it, to a gentle hill, and there beneath a twisted hawthorn tree, he sees a young girl, barefoot. She's painting with crushed berries and wild mint, but instead of parchment, she paints on air. Each stroke lingers, suspended like mist in the morning sun. She turns to him and smiles. You kept the skies, she whispers. And before he can ask who she is, he wakes. It is still night. The fire has cooled to ash. The candle is gone. The hut is filled with silence and shadow. Sits up slowly. The dream clings to his skin like dew. The girl, the tree, the brush that painted mist. He wraps his cloak around his shoulders and steps outside. The air is crisp, fresh. The sky above has shifted to Orion, is lower now. The Pleiades shimmer faintly, ready to bow out before dawn. And there, in the east, the barest suggestion of light, a silver thread, the breath before morning. He walks. Not far, just up the slope behind the hut, where the land opens wide and the sky feels even closer. He carries no lantern. He doesn't need one. The stars, the moon, and his own steps are enough. The grass is damp, the ground cool and firm. A sheep lifts its head sleepily as he then settles again. The world is half asleep with him. It slips through the grass like a hand through water. A whisper over the stones. A lullaby braided in air. Stands at the edge of his sheepfold, watching the moon rise slowly over the moor. It's nearly full, rimmed with a faint golden glow like an old coin worn smooth by many hands. His sheep are asleep, tucked into the hill's curves, like woolen clouds. Only one small lamb stirs, dreaming, perhaps, of running, or suckling, or some memory. Inside his hut, the scroll from last night still rests open. He left it there intentionally, unfinished, so it could breathe overnight. Medieval painters believed that the moonlight could settle into pigment if left uncovered beneath the sky, and that such paintings, when completed by dawn, held an extra layer of truth. He will only watch. He sits beside the fire and lets it burn low. Just embers now. Enough to keep the chill back, but not loud enough to interrupt the silence. He places his hands in his lap and listens. There are sounds you only hear in the absence of everything else. The creak of a drying branch, the low breath of the earth cooling after sunset, the heartbeat of the hut itself, soft groans in stone and wood. And above that quiet, he hears something new, a rustling, not outside, but paper. Slowly, he looks over to the scroll. Its edge is curling, as if moved by invisible fingers. He rises, silent, steps across the stone floor. The scroll hasn't shifted far, just a breath, but he senses it, like something waiting to be noticed. He kneels beside it and sees that one corner where he painted the spiral of stars has dried with a shimmer, not silver, but a faint, iridescent sheen, like a moth's wing in starlight. He touches it with one finger. It's dry, smooth, but warm. He breathes in, and for just a moment, the smell of rosemary and wild mint rises, the scent from his dream. The fire lets out a quiet sigh. Ash settles. The air stills, again, does not speak. He does not question, he just watches the shimmer on the scroll. And then he smiles. Not a wide smile, just a knowing one, as if the world has nodded back at him. In the medieval world, omens were everywhere. A bird flying west at sunset. A candle flickering at the wrong time. A dream that repeats 3 nights in a row. But not all omens were warnings. Some were invitations and feels. This The next morning, just before dawn, he walks again to the hilltop. This time, he carries the scroll in a wooden case, tucked beneath his cloak. The stars are beginning to fade again, and the first brush of pink is touching the edge of the world. He sits on the boulder, unrolls the scroll gently on his lap. There is no hawthorn tree here. just a boulder smoothed by centuries of wind. He sits and waits, letting the dreams settle around him. In medieval times, it was believed that dreams, especially those at dawn, were gifts from the soul, messages, stories. Doesn't know what his was, but he feels something shifting, like a door has opened in the quiet. The next morning, after tending his flock, he unrolls a new parchment, blank, still smelling of stretched wool and sun. He does not reach for his dyes. Not yet. Instead, he takes a simple piece of charcoal and draws a girl, barefoot, under a hawthorn tree. She holds a brush. Yes, but her smile, that's what he tries to remember most. Gentle, knowing, kind. He adds a single swirl in the air above her brush, like a painted breeze. And then, finally, he writes the words, "You kept the skies." That evening, something new begins. Prepares his paints, as always, elderberry blue, madder root red, a shimmer of powdered limestone. But instead of copying the stars above, he paints what he saw in his dream. Not a memory, but a vision. A sky that hasn't happened yet. A constellation shaped like an owl's wing. A mist-colored moon. A cluster of stars spiraling outward like a seashell. His brush trembles slightly as he works, not with fear, with wonder. And as the fire flickers beside him, he begins humming the tune the girl was singing. He doesn't know how he remembers it, but it flows from him like water from a spring. Soft, slow, safe. The sheep outside shift and settle. The night bird calls once, then falls silent. All around him, the world listens. And in the hush between brushstrokes, he whispers, "I'll keep painting, even what I don't understand." And the sky, somehow, feels closer. And now, dear dreamer, as you lie in your own soft bed, as you feel your limbs grow heavier, and your thoughts slow like drifting leaves, remember this? Even when we sleep, something ancient watches gently overhead, a shepherd of stars, and eyes that see. You're safe, you're warm, and there is more story to come, and watches not to change it, not to add, just to see. The spiral of stars, the dream girl's face, the hush-colored sky. It all feels clearer, not brighter, but deeper. As if the night has painted back, begins a new ritual. Each night, he paints only what dreams bring him, not the real stars, but remembered ones, or ones that haven't happened yet. Each scroll becomes a conversation. One layer from him, one from the sky. The shimmer returns again. Not always in the same place, but always soft, always quiet. Always after the painting is left to breathe under moonlight. He begins to believe these scrolls are no longer his alone. That's something ancient, or something kind, is painting with him. One night, weeks later, as he finishes a brushstroke shaped like a turning feather, he hears a knock, soft, twice. Not the wind, not a dream. Someone at his door. He hesitates. No one visits this high. He opens the door, and there, beneath a cloak dusted with frost, stands a young woman, carrying a rolled bundle under one arm. Her eyes reflect the stars. "I heard you keep skies," she says quietly. Nods. Not surprised. Not startled. Just calm. He steps aside. And now, as they sit together beside the fire, and she unwraps her bundle and reveals a scroll painted in soft golden swirls and quiet green lines, realizes he is not the only one. There are others, scattered across the moors, the valleys, the hills, painters of the unseen sky, weavers of celestial memory, and maybe, just maybe, dreamers too. So now, dear one, as the fire flickers low in your own quiet space, and your breath slows, and your thoughts blurred gently like painted mist, let yourself remember, there are skies only you can see, and they are worth painting. Even if only in your sleep, you are safe. You are still. And night still watches kindly overhead. Its glow pulses faintly, like the heartbeat of the hut. Soft shadows stretch across stone. And in one corner 2 cloaks hang now, instead of one, and the young woman sit by the hearth, not speaking much, not needing to. They sip from warm clay, cup-steeped herbs, and wild honey, the kind of tea that slows the thoughts, that tucks the spirit beneath layers of calm. Outside, the stars are climbing, higher and brighter. Inside, the stillness deepens. Her name is Lyra. She is not from the next village, nor the one after that. She traveled across 5 ridges and 2 valleys to reach him, following only a dream. She, too, paints not what is, but what might be. Not skies of fact, but skies of feeling. She shows him a painting. A great wheel of stars, spinning outward. "I dreamed it after the eclipse," she whispers, studies it in silence, then, slowly, nods. Over the next days she stays. She helps tend the sheep. She gathers berries for dyes. She hums quietly as she grinds walnut shells into ink, finds that he enjoys the quiet company, not loud, not hurried, just another rhythm, braiding into his own. They paint at different times, sometimes together by firelight, other times alone, under moonlight, backs to each other, brushes in hand. But companions. One finishes what the other began. One dreams what the other forgets. In medieval times, many believed that dreams came from three sources: the body, the world, and beyond. Most people ignored the third. But some those, like and Lyra, listened. They didn't call it magic. They didn't call it prophecy. They called it remembering forward, a way to glimpse what the heart already knew, but hadn't seen yet. And when their dreams aligned, they didn't question. They painted. One evening, Lyra begins a new scroll, this one wider than the others, stretched tight over a wooden frame carved for her. She doesn't speak, she just begins. Watches. At first, strokes of deep violet, almost black, then soft gold-like candlelight behind a closed door, then something new, a spiral staircase, floating in the stars. Each step marked with a symbol: moon, feather, seed, drop of water. She paints until dawn, and when it's finished, they both sit and look at it. Neither of them understands it fully, but both feel the same hush inside. Later that night, dreams again. He walks along that same staircase from her painting, each step humming faintly as he places his foot. At the top, he reaches a wide silver gate, and beyond it, a valley filled with stars instead of grass. In the center, a great tree. Its leaves shimmer with constellations, and beneath it, dozens of people painting the sky. Some old, some young, some from places he's never known. He sees Lyra there, too, and others he's yet to meet. And just before waking, the stars above that tree rearrange into a shape he's never seen before. He wakes slowly. The fire is still burning. Lyra is already up, stirring a pot of barley porridge. He tells her the dream, and when he describes the shape the stars formed at the end, a spiral with 3 crossing lines, she walks to her satchel, unrolls an old scroll, and there it is, the same shape. She dreamed it 3 winters ago, but until now, had never known what it meant. They begin painting it together, not just that shape, but the dream that surrounds it, paints the tree. Lyra paints the valley. Together, they weave the people, the gate, the staircase. And something about this painting feels different. Not just a memory, but a map. And now, dear dreamer, as the fire crackles low in your own mind, and the stars behind your eyelids begin to pulse softly again, let yourself feel that staircase too. Feel each step beneath you, steady and slow. You don't need to climb it. Just know it's there, somewhere in the dreamscape, somewhere in you. A spiral made not of stone, but of memory and sky. You are safe here. You are wrapped in stars, and sleep is gently arriving. The pigments haven't dried yet. But already, the stars they painted feel like they've always existed, as if the image had been waiting in the parchment all along. Outside the hut, the sheep are sleeping. The wind moves slowly, now less a breeze, more a breath. Somewhere, an owl calls once. Inside, the air smells of warmed milk and crushed pine needles. A quiet comfort. They have begun calling this new scroll the map. Not aloud. Not in the way maps are usually meant, but quietly, between them, in glances. In the way their hands rest on it. It's not a guide for feet. It's a guide for dreams. The tree, the valley of stars, the people painting in silence beneath it. Each time they look at the image, they notice something new. A new face. A color they didn't remember adding. It's as though the scroll paints itself in sleep. That night, they make a decision. They will follow it. The tree, the gate, the staircase all feel like invitations. They gather their things slowly, carefully, not rushed, not afraid. Rolls up his scrolls, each one wrapped in linen and cedar chips. Lyra packs her pigment pouches of crushed herbs, berries, dusted glass. They take dried bread, cheese, wool cloaks. Leave the hut just as dawn kisses the sky. They do not lock the door. Instead, they leave it open, as if someone else might come someday and need the warmth waiting inside. They travel by instinct, not by road, not by map. Two quiet signs. An unusual feather on a fence, a pattern in fallen leaves, a stone shaped like a closed eye. Medieval people believed in omens of place, not just time. Some spots held memory more deeply. The ancients called them thin places, where the world was closer to the other world. And Lyra began to sense these thin places as they walk. In the hush of a certain grove, the way water stills beside a certain bend in the stream. They don't speak much. They don't need to. One afternoon, as the sun rests low in the western sky, they come across an old ruin, a crumbled tower, half swallowed by ivy, and beside it, a tree, not the same as the one in their scroll, smaller, wilder. But when Lyra steps near it, her scroll pouch begins to shimmer. She gasps softly and knows this is the next step. The stars appear earlier that night, almost eager. The fire crackles gently between them. Their scrolls rest open nearby, catching bits of starlight and ash. They don't paint. Not yet. They just sit and listen. The wind passes through the ruined stones, and it almost speaks, a low, rhythmic pulse, like breath, like memory. Closes his eyes, and the dream comes before sleep. In the dream, he sees the staircase again. But this time, Lyra is walking beside him. They do not speak, but they know why they climb. step by step, until the silver gate. This time, it opens, and the star valley beyond is clearer. He sees the people beneath the tree again, but now one of them turns. A man with gray hair, holding a scroll the color of smoke. He nods, then points to the base of the tree, where a tiny seedling grows, glowing softly. And when Tomás looks closer, the leaves shimmer with symbols. One of them is the same as the emblem in their painting. He wakes slowly. The fire is still glowing. Lyra is still resting, curled in her cloak like a folded wing. He reaches for his sketch parchment and draws the seedling, the symbols on the leaves. He does not know what they mean, but he knows they are important. The next morning, they begin to paint again, this time on one scroll, side by side. Their brushes move in silence. A stem, a leaf, a shimmer of stars across the soil. They mix colors that shouldn't blend: ochre and lavender, ash and emerald. But somehow, it works. The tree begins to grow on the page, not just large, but luminous. And at its base, a seedling, just like the dream, and beside it, they add a single footprint, one for each of them, to mark that they were here, to say, we began. And now, dear dreamer, as you lie in your own gentle stillness, let the footsteps of and Lyra echo softly in your thoughts. The rustle of leaves above your head, the shimmer of a painted dream beneath your fingers. You don't have to understand it, only feel it. You are safe, you are steady, you are part of the painting now. Close your eyes. Rest. The sky will hold you. Soft rays of sun stretch across the painting, illuminating the seedling, the footsteps, the shimmers in the sky. Stirs the fire. Lyra packs away her pigments. They move without speaking, not from haste, but harmony. Like two branches swaying in the same breeze, they are ready to move on. The tree watches as they leave. Its limbs shift slightly in the wind, as though offering a blessing. Lyra touches its trunk rough, cool, fragrant with lichen, leaves a feather in its roots. From one of their sheep, soft and curled, an offering, a memory, and then they walk. Their path leads them down into a valley shaded with old pines. The air is cooler here, muffled. Even their footsteps grow quieter, cushioned by pine needles and soft moss. The sun flickers through the canopy. Golden dapples dance along their cloaks, and the birds here don't sing. They hum low, lilting notes, like monks chanting far in the distance. In the Middle Ages, some believed certain forests had guardians, not monsters, not spirits, but keepers of dreams. Lyra says she feels watched, says he feels guided. Neither are afraid. At the center of the valley, they find a stone pool. Still. Perfectly round, lined with smooth black pebbles. No stream feeds it, no wind ripples it. Lyra kneels and peers into the water. She gasps, not because of what she sees, but because the water doesn't reflect her. It reflects a scroll. One they haven't painted yet. They study the reflection. A spiral of stars again. But this time, at the center. A circle of figures. Standing together, hand in hand. Some wear cloaks. Others wear robes. Some are children. Some are old. Each holds a brush that glows like moonlight on river stone. Whispers. It's a gathering. A dream shared. They sit in silence beside the pool. The still water. The echo of forest hums. The hush of discovery, and they begin to paint again. But this painting is different. They paint in quiet reverence. No conversation, no sketches, only instinct. They paint the circle of dreamers, the spiral above them, the symbols glowing faintly beneath their feet. Some like stars, some like roots, some like forgotten letters. And when they finish, they leave the scroll unrolled beside the pool. They don't pack it. They don't take it with them. Some things are meant to stay where they belong. As they rise to leave, Lyra turns one last time. The scroll by the pool is gone. Only the reflection remains. But is not surprised. He smiles softly and says, "That night, they make camp beneath a fallen yew. Its roots arch overhead like a woven gate. The stars peek through the gaps. A patterned sky watches them in silence. The fire is low, and the night wraps around them like wool. Lyra is already asleep, one hand resting on her scroll case. Lets his eyes close. And again, the dream returns. He walks through a stone archway. On the other side, he finds a chamber carved into a mountainside. Scrolls line the walls. Thousands, maybe more. But there is no dust. They're alive, gently fluttering, like wings. A figure steps forward, cloaked in gray. Their faces hidden, but in their hand. They hold one of S scrolls. The dreamer holds it out, then presses it to S's chest. "You are part of the tapestry now," they whisper. Not separate, not alone. And the scroll in his dream begins to glow. When he wakes, the stars are just beginning to fade. The fire is out. Lyra is still asleep. Unwraps his scroll case, and there is the scroll from his dream only. It wasn't there the night before. He opens it slowly. There it is. The glowing brushstrokes. The mark of the archway. The symbol of the circle. No mistake. Some dreams. return as gifts. And now, dear listener, as you lie still and feel the pull of the dream realm brushing against your thoughts, there are scrolls meant only for you, stories whispered by stars, maps folded in the creases of your breath. You do not have to understand, only rest. The sky will remember for you. The valley waits. The dream continues. Silver strands hang in the air like whispered threads of a forgotten story. The world feels quieter than usual. Even the birds wait. Walks beside Lyra through the pines, the dream scroll pressed safely against his chest. He hasn't told her yet. He wants to wait until the time feels still enough to share it. She glances at him once, her eyes curious, not pressing, just listening without words. In their silence, even the wind seems to understand. They reach a small village by dusk, tucked between low hills and a river that babbles like an old storyteller. Stone cottages, thatched roofs, smoke curling from chimney pots. Children chase each other with sticks. A dog wags its tail beside a well. The villagers watch the newcomers with soft, curious eyes, not afraid, just wondering. Wanders were rare, but not unwelcome. An elderly woman named Maeve offers them lodging. She lives alone in a cottage of crooked walls and warm floors. Her hands are covered in blue dye. She weaves wool and says she once dreamed a sheep into existence. No one doubted her. That night, Maeve makes soup-leeks, oats, and thyme. The scent settles through the rafters like peace as they eat by firelight. Finally unrolls the dream scroll. He places it on Maeve's table, lit by a flickering beeswax candle. Maeve leans close, squints, smiles. Then she whispers, "That one hangs in the sky above my dreams." Lyra's eyes shine, feels the warmth of knowing, of something unspoken being shared, confirmed. Maeve stands, shuffles to a shelf, and brings back her own scroll. Older creased, painted in worn strokes. At its center, the same glowing circle of figures. But each figure is different. Lyra notices a woman with a threadbare cloak, painted with spirals of blue, sees a child holding a broken lantern that glows anyway. These dream scrolls are not fixed. They change. They shift for the ones who see them. Like water in moonlight. In medieval times, there were tales of the starbinders. Wanderers who never stayed long, who carried scrolls and stories, who spoke softly, painted silently, and left behind no footprints, only dreams. Maeve says she met one when she was just a girl. He gave her a paintbrush made from a swan's feather and told her the sky listens best to quiet hands. She kept that brush. Still does. It's on the wall by her bed, tied with a red string. That night, they don't paint. They just sit. The three of them, near the hearth, wrapped in cloaks and candlelight. Outside, the village sleeps, The river hums, gazes into the flames, and lets his thoughts blur. He sees the seedling again, the stone pool, the scroll that painted itself. And he begins to wonder, what if all these places are not separate? What if they're pieces, corners of a single giant scroll, one made of the land itself? And in that thought, sleep finds him. It arrives like soft wool drawn over his shoulders. No sound, no pressure, just ease. He dreams again, but this time, he doesn't walk. He floats, above valleys, above ruins, above the very hill where his flock once slept. The land below him looks like parchment. Rivers curve like brushstrokes. Forests curl like signatures. Mountains form constellations in reverse. And then he sees it, the great scroll, unrolling beneath his drifting form, painted not with ink, but with memory. When he wakes, the candle is still burning. Lyra sleeps near the window, her face turned toward the sky. Maeve snores gently by the hearth, slips quietly outside. The village is still. Even the river sounds like it's whispering instead of running. He looks up, and there, painted in stars, he sees the same curve of the dream scroll. Not exact, but enough to make his heart still in the distance. An owl calls, and something in the night answers, not in sound, but in stillness. A hush that stretches deep, wide, and kind. Closes his eyes and lets that hush enter him, like breath, like belonging. And now, dreamer, as your own thoughts begin to settle like dust on quiet parchment, let the hush find you, too. Let the scroll of your night unroll slowly, a brushstroke, each heartbeat, a star. You are a dreamer. You are a painter of skies, and this night belongs to you. You are part of the great remembering. A pale mist floats low to the ground, turning trees into silhouettes, and the cobblestones into a sleepy river of stone. Stands by the well, filling his water pouch while the air still holds its chill. The villagers begin to stir, shutters creaking open, bread ovens flickering to life, but none disturb him. They move around him like he's part of the morning. Lyra joins him soon after, wrapped in her wool cloak, eyes still touched by dreams. They don't speak yet. The hush is too precious. Before leaving, they share one final tea with Maeve. She adds something extra to the brew-dried marigold and a petal of blue borage to help remember the dreams that matter. Don't drink it too fast, she says with a wink. Let the sky steepen you a little. And Lyra sips slowly, the warmth blooming in their chests, anchoring them and lifting them, all at once. They thank her with soft voices and leave a small scroll behind, their painting of the stone pool. She always has. The road bends, gently away from the village. No signposts, no markings, but still, they know the way. The dreams come even in waking. Every rustling leaf, every shift of light, feels like a line from an unspoken story. That evening, they reach the edge of a meadow. Not large, but ringed with tall stones. Some upright, some tilted, all humming faintly. Yes, not musical, just a faint pressure, like holding a seashell to your ear. Steps between two of the stones. The air thickens slightly. The world outside seems too slow, and the stars begin to shine even before the sun is gone. In medieval times, these places were called listening circles. Some said the stones were carved by time itself. Others believed they were echoes of a language forgotten by people, but remembered by the sky. Places his palm on the closest stone. It's warm. Lyra does the same. And then, together, they sit in the center of the circle and begin a new scroll. They don't discuss what to paint. They simply begin. Paints the stones, but instead of moss and cracks, he paints them as glowing, translucent columns, each containing a moving image inside. A tree growing, a bird flying, a scroll unrolling. Lyra paints between them. Delicate threads of silver, lines of memory, like spider silk strung across sky. Together, they're painting something alive, a memory of something older than either of them. Older than any village, older than time, perhaps. As the painting nears completion, they feel something shift in the air. A pressure. A silence inside the silence. Looks up. In the space above them between the stones, a shimmer. Not light. Not shadow. Something in between. It hovers, expands, and then gently folds inward, like a page turning in the sky. They sleep that night without fire. The stones feel warm enough. Their scroll rests beside them, a living thing, and as sleep carries them inward, the dreams are shared again. This time, they walk a hallway, long, curved, made entirely of light, and on either side shelves, lined not with books, but scrolls glowing softly. One scroll floats free, just ahead of them. It turns slowly in the air, unrolls, reveals an image of themselves, sitting beneath the yew, painting the seedling. They watch it form, stroke by stroke, as if for the first time. And then a voice, not loud, not even a whisper, just presence, says, "Keep going." The sky remembers. They wake just before dawn. The air is still. The stones watch in silence. Lyra touches the scroll. It's changed again. Now, between the stone columns, a new figure has appeared, cloaked in stars. eyes closed, and below it, 3 small symbols. Draws them in his notebook. Their meanings unclear, but their pull undeniable. He knows they must follow them, even if they don't yet know where they lead. And now, gentle dreamer, let your thoughts quiet. Let your breath soften. Let the hush of the stone circle settle over you like a blanket of moss. You are safe here. You are wrapped in memory, and the dreams you carry matter, even the ones you forget. Sleep now. The stars are painting around you. Even the birds wait a little longer before singing. And Lyra rise from the stone circle slowly, not because of fatigue, but reverence. Some places ask you to leave gently. They fold around you like a lullaby, then loosen their grip when it's time to go. Looks back once. The scroll rests inside his satchel, but the circle is now etched within him. Lyra touches one of the stones, whispers something only the sky hears. Then they walk. The hills grow higher now, windier, wilder. Grass gives way to heather, and the clouds drift closer, so close you could almost reach into them. Pauses often, but to listen. The wind says little today, only a faint rustle, like turning pages. But he senses it, the hush of something waiting just ahead. Midday comes softly. They stop by a stream so clear it reflects not the sky, but the dream of sky. Lyra unrolls their latest scroll and studies it again. The 3 symbols below the cloaked figure still puzzle them. They aren't letters. They aren't runes. One looks like a spiral with a dot. Another, a feather falling sideways. The third, a hand. Maybe, Lyra whispers, they're questions. Smiles. Or maybe their answers not meant to be understood, only followed. In the Middle Ages, symbols were not always meant to be read. Some were drawn to summon, some to remind, some to quiet the world just enough for something else to come through. Sketches them again in his notebook, but this time he lets his hand move freely afterward, without thought. What emerges is a hill, and at the top, a spire. Tall, bent by time. He doesn't recognize it, but Lyra does. There's a ruin like that, she says softly, on the cliffs above the wind basin. And just like that, the scroll speaks again. By sunset, they see it, half swallowed in vines, and time, a tower, tilted slightly to the east, its top broken off, like the tip of an old candle. They reach it by twilight. Wind howls around it, not cruel, just constant. Places his hand against the stone, feels the vibration, like something beneath the wind. Lyra finds an archway carved with a faded crest, a spiral, a feather, an open hand. The same 3 is the place. Inside, it's darker than they expect. Not just shadow, but deep hush. No bird song, no echo. Only the slow breath of silence. They light a single beeswax candle, and its glow paints the chamber in gold. Stone walls curve inward. Moss grows where banners once hung. A single altar remains at the center, cracked but steady. They kneel, not out of worship, but because their bodies know this place is meant to be knelt in. They begin their next painting here, not on a scroll, but on the wall itself, with soot and wax, with water and pigment. They paint what the tower shows them, draws a figure standing in wind. Its cloak is made of stars. Lyra paints a window with no glass, only light. Between them, a doorway, open wide. And over it, the three symbols again, but this time, not with paint, but with something else, something deeper. They sleep there that night, beneath the tilted roof, beside the old altar, wrapped in cloaks and the last warmth of candlelight. In dreams, the tower rises taller than ever, not broken, but whole. Its spiral staircase hums beneath their feet. They climb without effort, wind at their backs. And at the top, a door. When they open it, they don't see sky. They see scrolls, floating, endless, alive. And one scroll opens toward them, blank, waiting. When they wake, the candle has burned to its end. The wall painting remains, but the symbols have faded from it. That's all right. They remember them now, not just with their minds, but with their dreaming. Gently touches the painted figure. Lyra traces the open door. They don't speak. The scroll has moved forward again. So must they. And now, dear one, let your thoughts rest gently, like paint settling into parchment. You have walked through stone and wind. You have climbed staircases made of hush. Let this dream settle in your chest now. A soft spiral, a falling feather, an open hand. You are still. You are safe. And the scroll that waits inside you will open in time. Sleep now. You are remembered. Far in the mist, its broken spire catching morning light like a lantern half-lit. And Lyra walks slowly. The wind has calmed. The land breathes deeper now. They follow no path, only the invisible pull of the next dream. The scrolls have stopped showing them destinations. Instead, they feel direction, like a hush turning its head. By midday, they reach a grove of bent trees, all leaning in the same direction, as if bowing to something once great. Lyra steps softly into the shade. Follows, brushing his fingers along. Bark that feels warm. The grass here is silvered with dew, though the sky is clear. In the center of the grove sits a wooden bench, carved with tiny stars and a feather on each end, not out of impatience, but welcome. In the Middle Ages, it was believed that groves like this held memory, thoughts, even dreams. Certain pilgrims would walk into these places, close their eyes, and borrow the memory of someone who had passed through long before. Some called it prayer. Others called it listening. Closes his eyes now and listens. He sees a child sitting on the same bench. Their hands are stained with pigment blue and green. They're painting a piece of bark with a symbol he's never seen before. A crescent turned sideways, cradling a tiny, sleeping star. The child looks up, and though their lips do not move, hears a single word, keep. Then the vision fades, but the symbol stays in his mind. Lyra has been silent, but when he opens his eyes, she is already sketching that same shape. She saw it too. That night, they camp beneath the leaning trees. No fire, only moonlight. Their scroll is laid between them. The dream symbol, at its center now, paints the bench. Lyra paints the child, though their face is left open, unfinished. Not out of uncertainty, but invitation, so that whoever dreams this scroll can find themselves in it. They sleep beneath stars that feel closer than usual, low, quiet, patient, and in sleep, they return to the grove. Only now it is vast. The trees stretch for miles, each one holding a painted scroll in its branches. They pass beneath one tree and pause. A scroll opens as they near. Inside, their own painting, the bench, the symbol, and beside it, one line of text. Some dreams are planted before the dreamer is born. The scroll is still there. But something has changed in the painting. The unfinished face of the child now bears a faint reflection of both of them, not literal, not exact, but enough to feel known. Lyra gently touches the image, then says softly, "We're not painting the sky." Looks at her. She smiles. "We're painting the ones who watch it." They pack slowly. Their feet feel light, but the silence they carry feels full. Like a bowl filled to the rim with something sacred. As they walk out of the grove, Lyra leaves behind a feather she's carried 4 days. Places a single circle of painted bark at the foot of the bench. A memory given. A dream shared. Neither look back. They know this place remains, long after footfalls vanish. And now, gentle soul, let the hush of that grove gather in you. Let your breath grow soft. As the leaning trees bow gently around your thoughts, there is no rush, no right step, only presence. You are part of the painting now. You are the watcher of stars, the keeper of scrolls. The dream that planted itself long before sleep began. Close your eyes. You are safe. You are soft. You are seen. Not vanished, just quieted, folded back into itself. And Lyra walk on, each step softer than the one before, as though the land itself is cushioning their way. The air holds the warmth of late summer, but the light feels older now, as if the sun is not just rising, but remembering. They follow the curve of a gentle hill. Sheep once grazed here, remembers. He sees the faint outline of hoof prints, still pressed into the earth. Half forgotten, and then, just past the bend, a small stone chapel appears. Its walls lean slightly. Its door is missing, but something in it calls, not loudly, just enough to hush their steps. Lyra looks at, he nods. They step inside. The chapel smells of time and old wood. Dust swirls like whispers in the late afternoon light. There's no altar, no pews, only a single wooden stool in the center. And beside it, an hourglass. Its sand glows faintly, and it's already falling grain by grain, though no one turned it. Kneels to study it. Lyra walks to the walls. There are marks there, dozens, maybe hundreds, tiny carvings, symbols they've seen before. One in particular makes Lyra pause, a handprint, small, delicate, and next to it, a single painted star. In medieval times, some believed time could gather in places, not pass, but pool. That certain chapels, stones, or wells held hours that had been left behind, like rainwater. Pilgrims would sit in them, not to pray, but to be still long enough to remember what they had forgotten they knew. And Lyra sit now, opposite each other. Scroll between them, the hourglass softly whispering its grains into the lower bowl. They don't paint yet. They wait. And then, the hush grows deeper. The dust in the air slows. Even the shadows seem to pause, and the scroll begins to shimmer on its own. The symbol of the child glows first, then the grove, then the spiral. Then, a new image forms, though neither of them lifts a brush, a tower, but not the broken one they painted before. This one rises into a sky they've never seen, a sky the color of sleep. At the top, a circle of dreamers. Some look like monks, some like shepherds, some like children, and one looks just like Lyra. She reaches out, not to touch the scroll, but to hold that stillness. Tears gather at the corners of her eyes, not of sadness, but recognition. She whispers, "It was always waiting." Doesn't ask what she means. He knows. That night, they paint in silence. The chapel holds them gently, like a held breath. Their brushes move slowly, as if dipping into memory instead of pigment. They add the hourglass, the carvings, the unbroken tower, the circle of dreamers. But they leave space too. Space between strokes, between forms. They understand now that emptiness is not absence. It's invitation. They sleep on the stone floor, wrapped in their cloaks. Backs against the wall. The hourglass still whispers, though neither of them turns it. In dreams, they are no longer painting. They are being painted. A brush sweeps across their shoulders, their hair, their closed eyelids. A color they've never seen before. The shade of a thought remembered just before waking. And a voice, older than breath, whispers, "You are not the dreamers. You are the dream." When they wake, the hourglass has stopped, but the sand in its base shines brighter than before. The carvings on the wall seem to pulse in the morning light, as if noticing them. One last time, gently wraps their newest scroll. Lyra closes her eyes. One final time before leaving the chapel. She leaves behind her smallest brush, the one her grandmother gave her, not as a loss, but as a gift. To the next dreamer who wanders in, and now, dreamer. Let the hush of that chapel settle over you. Let the sand of forgotten hours whisper across your thoughts. There is no clock here, no demand, only stillness, only the soft unfolding of who you already are. Sleep now. Let yourself be painted. You are already on the scroll, and the stars are watching gently, not in distance, but in time. And Lyra move like ink along a scroll drawn forward, pulled gently by something neither of them names aloud. They say, "Little now." Words have become heavy with meaning, and the quiet between them speaks loudest. The land flattens into open moor, low wind, endless heather, a sky the color of pearl dust and soft thunder. The path narrows then disappears, but their steps do not falter. Each footfall feels known, as if the ground has been waiting for their weight. The scroll in Espak hums faintly, not a sound, a warmth, alive. They find a standing stone just before dusk. Tall, lone, its surface etched with centuries of lichen and light. But when Lyra lays her hand against it, the moss parts slightly, and beneath it, carved into the heart of the stone, a spiral, a star, a brush, the same symbols, again. But now they feel less like clues, and more like a remembering. In medieval lore, certain stones were known as listeners, planted not by kings or masons, but by monks who believed the earth itself could record prayer. They whispered dreams to the stone, believing one day another would pass by and hear the echo. And Lyra sit beside it, backs to the west wind. They don't speak, they listen. And the wind tells them stories of a painter who used starlight as pigment, of a tower made of breath, of a scroll so long it circled the earth, thrice, before finishing itself. Each tale feels like one they've already painted. They paint that night without fire. Only the stone, the sky, and the hush between stars. Lyra paints the brush symbol glowing in the stone, paints the spiral winding out across the heather. But as he paints, the spiral splits. Not a mistake, a choice, curling away from each other, and between them, a figure with no face. Only an open hand. The scroll lies unrolled between them, moonlight spilling across its surface like a slow breath. In dreams walks a forked path. One road is bright, lit by lanterns and lined with doors. The other is dark. But above it, the stars pulse gently. He hesitates. Then hears a voice beside him. Not all light guides. Not all dark hides. He looks. No one there. Just the wind brushing past, carrying the scent of parchment and wool. Wakes first. The horizon is just beginning to pale. He touches the scroll. The spiral is still split. Lyra stirs, blinking sleep from her eyes. They pack in silence, but before leaving, takes a small stone from the base of the standing marker. He places it in his satchel beside his ink. Lyra watches, nods. Some memories are meant to be carried, even when you don't know why. They head north now. The wind presses gently at their backs. The moor opens like a page. And far, far ahead, a shape appears on the horizon. A bridge, stone, long, half sunk into the land. As they approach, the bridge hums, soft, barely audible, a vibration in the air. At its entrance stands a wooden sign worn by time and rain. No words remain. Only a carved brush and a spiral curling into the wood. Steps onto the bridge first. The mist swirls but does not rise. The air grows warmer, closer, wrapped in itself. Lyra follows, and the mist closes behind them like a door made of thought. And now, dreamer, let the hush of this bridge stretch across your thoughts. You are in the mist now, between paths, between pages, between one breath and the next. Let go of choosing. Let go of seeking. You are not lost. You are wandering the sacred, and when you wake, the stone will remember for you. Sleep now. The bridge will carry you gently, not in distance, but in time. Each step seems to stretch. Not unpleasant, not heavy, just slowed, like the quiet between a thought and its echo. And Lyra walk in silence, wrapped in silver mist, that muffles even their footsteps. There is no railing, no visible end, only the feeling of being carried, not by the bridge, but with it. In old monastic tales, there were stories of bridges of silence, not made to cross rivers, but thresholds. Between wake and dream. Between knowing and remembering. Between the scene. And the softened pilgrims said they heard voices on such bridges. Not loud, not from others, but from something beneath their own thoughts. Lyra feels that now, not words, but a melody she knew once. Perhaps from childhood, perhaps from before. She hums softly, and the mist hums back. Midway across, they find a bench. Stone. Worn, smooth. They sit side by side. The mist parts for a moment, revealing not land or river, but a vast sky beneath the bridge. Not above, beneath. Painted stars drift through it. Constellations neither have ever seen, but both somehow recognize. Lyra leans forward, whispers, "It, say scroll," nods. They're walking across the back of the sky. They open their own scroll, lay it on their laps. And for the first time, it shifts on its own. Images rearrange. Scenes reorder. The child appears again. The tower. Is the spiral. But now lines connect them. Threads of silver light, like constellations drawn between memories. The scroll is no longer a record. It is a map. Tomás pulls a brush from his satchel, dips it into nothing, just air, and yet it glows. He draws a single curved line beneath the newest connection on the scroll. And from it, a small door appears, closed, waiting, shaped like a feather. They don't speak. They don't need to. The scroll is speaking now, and they are listening. As they stand to continue, the mist begins to thin. Just slightly. Just enough to reveal that the end of the bridge has appeared. A soft stone archway, covered in ivy, that glows faintly blue, steps forward. Lyra touches the ivy, and the arch opens wider. Welcoming, not demanding. Beyond it, a field of night. Though it is still day, a sky pressed close to the ground. And in the center, a domed pavilion made of glass and light. They walk toward it and feel no wind, no sound. Only stillness so deep it feels like being held. Inside the dome, dozens of scrolls hang suspended, not tied, not rolled, each one glowing faintly with a hue of its own. They step inside. No door. No barrier. Just hush. One scroll drifts down to meet them. It unrolls mid-air, revealing a mirror, not of their faces, but of their journey. The child. The circle of stones. The brush and the bridge. Then a blank space. Waden lifts his brush. Lyra places her hand over his. Together, they begin the final piece. And now, dearest dreamer, let the mist settle around your breath. Let the bridge disappear beneath your feet. Not from loss, but because you've crossed it. You are in the pavilion now. You are part of the scroll. The next image is yours to paint. Close your eyes. Let the stars beneath you whisper. Let the brush in your heart move gently. You are memory. You are light. You are the hush between all things. Sleep. You are nearly home. And Lyra sits side by side. The floating scroll stretched before them, still unpainted, but not impatiently, just quietly. The suspended scrolls drift above and around them, each turning gently on an unseen breeze. Some scrolls hum, some shimmer. Some feel as old as the stars, but only one waits for them. They begin with soft strokes. Lyra paints the domed ceiling above them, not as it looks, but as it feels. Curves of skylight and thread. A canopy that whispers. Paints the bridge behind them, stretching into mist, but now illuminated with stars. Beneath every step, he adds a small figure, someone walking alone, but wrapped in silver light. Then the scroll changes. The ink shifts beneath their fingers. What they've painted does not vanish. It folds inward, becomes the next layer. And now a new scene emerges. Their first painting, the yew tree, the sheep in the valley, the stone pool. Lyra gasps softly, closes his eyes. The scroll isn't growing. It's returning, like the sky pulling in breath. In ancient belief, a scroll was never truly linear. Medieval monks described some as circlescript, where the end folds back to the beginning, and the story rewrites itself each time it's remembered. Now understands. They were never meant to fill the scroll. They were meant to awaken it. And in doing so, they awakened themselves. They paint one last image. Not a tower, not a symbol, not even the shepherd or the child, just a brush in mid-air, held by no one, pointing upward, and from its tip, a single line reaching toward the top of the scroll. Unfinished, unfixed, endless. They lay down in the pavilion. The scroll floats above them, still glowing faintly, still open. Folds his hands across his chest. Lyra's head rests on her arm. Neither speaks, because now, even words would ripple the quiet too much. They watch as the scroll slowly rolls closed, not with finality, but with peace. Like a page folded in sleep, a rare thing. They float through the painted landscapes they once created. Only now the places move. The tower leans toward the stars. The chapel glows with moonlight from within. The grove sings with childlike voices, and the sky above them is not sky at all. It is parchment, soft, unfolding, infinite brushstrokes trail across it, some new, some old, and each one whispers their name. When they wake, the glass dome is gone. No pavilion, no scrolls. Only a soft hill beneath a yew tree in a valley of slow winds. The sun is rising. The sheep graze in silence. Their satchels lie beside them. Inside the scroll, rolled, tied with a red thread. They do not open it. They already carry it now. Picks up his old crook, worn smooth from years, yet somehow it feels new. Lyra wraps a scarf around her shoulders, one woven with stars, not fabric. They look at each other, say nothing, then begin walking, back toward the village, back to the world, not to forget, but to share, because now they understand. The sky is not a place you reach. It's a story you carry. And now, dear dreamer, let the hush settle softly around your ribs. Let your breath feel round. Slow, weightless. You've walked the bridge. You've held the brush. You've painted the sky from within. Sleep now. The scroll inside you does not need more lines tonight. It only needs rest. Have always belonged in this story. Chimneys whisper smoke into the pinkening sky. Cows shuffle lazily in barnyards. Bread rises slowly in ovens, and roosters call without urgency. And Lyra walk through it quietly. No one stops them. No one stares. It's as if everyone has been expecting their return, even if they do not know why. At Maeve's cottage, the kettle is already steaming. She opens the door before they knock. Her eyes soften, not with surprise, but with remembering. I've kept the pot warm, she says. Smiles. Lyra exhales. They sit at her little wooden table, scroll between them still unopened. Maeve places honey in their tea. Not a word about their journey. Not yet. Only quiet sips, and the sound of the world settling into itself. When the tea is finished, Maeve reaches for the scroll. She does not untie it. She simply places one hand on it and closes her eyes. She hums, a soft tune Lyra has heard before. Somewhere in the mist, on the bridge, it is the melody of memory returning. Maeve opens her eyes and says, only this. It's time. They walk together to the little hall by the edge of the village. Stone walls, thick timbers, A round window that catches the evening sun just right. Inside, shelves line the walls. Scrolls, dozens, hundreds. Recognizes one. The scroll of the singing well. Lyra notices another. The painted clock in the tower. Stories they've never seen, but feel they've always known. At the center of the room stands a wooden pedestal. Empty, waiting. The red thread glows faintly, then unties itself. The scroll unrolls, not by hand, but by quiet. And as it opens, the images begin to drift upward, not vanish, ascend. Each painted scene rises like smoke, fading into the ceiling beams, soaking into the walls, etching into the memory of the place, until only the parchment remains blank once more, ready again. In medieval scriptoriums, it was said that true stories did not end. They were only released so others could breathe them in. These halls weren't libraries, they were lungs. And now, and Lyra have added their breath to it. A hush fills the hall, not emptiness, but fullness, held still. The scroll rolls gently closed. That night lies under the stars, not far from where the yew tree stands. His sheep sleep nearby, breathing in rhythm with the land. The sky above him but around. He traces stars with his finger, imagining the brush still in his hand. He knows he may not paint again for a while, but the sky will keep painting him. And Lyra, she sits by candlelight, weaving a cloth of deep blue threads, tiny silver flecks stitched through, a tapestry. She weaves because the hush inside her has found hands. And every time she threads the needle, she hears it again. Not all light guides. The yew grows thicker. The stone pool reflects more quietly. New scrolls appear in the village hall, brought by wanderers, whispered in by wind, painted in dreams. And some nights, if the stars are just right, you can still hear Lyra's laugh from the high fields, and humming as he walks beneath the moon. And now, dreamer, let your breath settle, let your hands relax, let your heart hold what it wants, and let go of the rest. You have walked the whole path. You have crossed the bridge. You have unrolled the hush. You have painted the sky. And now it holds you back. The scroll is complete. You are safe. Sleep the end.